we do that. And in traveling so, these members learn something they've never seen before. They understand the importance of Golan Heights. They understand why it brings stability and freedom for the region. You know who else understands it? President Trump. I come to you today because those first terms in Congress, the debate of Israel was bipartisan. We stood together when we had our votes. But I've watched a change. I've watched something happen I have not seen in quite some time, and I question if there are parallels in history about it. I watched a new majority maybe actually change their opinion. You see, when Congresswoman Omar tweeted, "It's all about the Benjamins," it had reference to me. The minority party only has one real power on the floor. We can offer what is called an MTR, an amendment to the bill. We put an amendment on the bill because we watch anti-Semitism grow. Grow not just around the region of Israel, but with our allies in France and now in America. So we stood strong, we put it on the floor, and you know what? It was unanimous. But that did not stop the Congresswoman. A few weeks later, she questioned the loyalty of Americans based upon their own faith. We've heard those questions before. I saw members of the Democratic Party stand up and said, "It's over the weekend, we're going to move a resolution. We're going to condemn it. We're going to name her." But by the time we got to Congress, some others in the Democratic Party stood with her, and the Democratic leadership backed down. Not only did they back down, they watered down. Not only did they water down, they wrote it 3 times. They couldn't even muster the ability to name her. That should not be in America. That should not stand today. And I want to tell you as a Republican leader, I don't pick because it's one side. When I became leader within the first month, I watched a member of our party say something that was derogatory, talked about white supremacy, spoke of things that the party of Lincoln does not stand for. We did not bat an eye. We condemned it. Not only did we condemn it, we convened the steering committee. We removed him from his committee, but not one committee, from all committees, because we stand for what we believe. I think that example should be shown on the other side of the aisle. You know, I've had many experiences traveling to Israel, many experiences traveling with members. And I understand our greatness and our values together. I understand about America, that America is more than a country. America is an idea. That not a place that we have to apologize. That when you listen to Abraham Lincoln and you listen to the Gettysburg Address, you know, 74 years ago, our forefathers brought forth a new nation on this continent, conceived in liberty and dedicated the proposition that we're all equal. He goes on to say, "But if we fail, government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from earth." There's been no other nation conceived like America. One day, I was inside the Capitol. There was a moment like this with senators and members of Congress, and Shimon Peres, he was still president of Israel at the time. We all know that he has passed. We were giving him a medal. He looked out at us and he goes, "You live in the greatest nation that's ever been on the face of the earth." He says, "You know what your greatness comes from? Not what you take, but what you give." That America will give the ultimate sacrifice of life for another country's freedom. And with that freedom becomes human rights. There is a reason why we should lead. There is a reason why, if we hear this type of statement, this type of anti-Semitic comments around the world, we stand up to it. But when the day it happens inside Congress, we should not stay silent, we should not sit back, and we should challenge it every single day that it is there. We just got done with session last week. It is a week that I believe history will write about. It's not a week that we'll be proud of. I do a press conference at the end of every week. I walked into the press conference somewhat depressed, somewhat angry, and that's what I come to you today. You see, the Democrats put a bill on the floor, and again, the Republicans only have one action to take. BDS is anti-Semitism. BDS wants to destroy Israel. We made a motion to recommit, to add an amendment to a bill to condemn BDS. But I want you to understand why. You see, the Senate has acted. The Senate made their most important bill. You get your numbers of your bill, how you put it across. The majority reserves 1 through 10. They made Senate Bill 1 condemning BDS. It passed with 77 votes. The Democratic leadership in the House, to the last I checked, wouldn't even refer it to a committee. Its companion bill won't even be heard in the House. So our only action was to put it on the floor. Every single Democrat but 5 voted against us. Every single Democrat voted for 5, but 5 voted against us. That is not America. That is not our Congress. And we will not stay silent, and you need to join us. Reagan always told us we're one generation away from extinction of losing our freedoms. That we do not get it and pass it along to our children through our bloodline. We fight for it, we protect it, we stand up for it. We should do the same for Israel. I have fear. I have fear about what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. I've watched history repeat itself. I can look to other countries. I could look what's being said in France today, and I see parallels before World War II. I watch a Labour Party in Britain that used to stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel, now call Hezbollah and Hamas. Their own leader of the Labour Party say they're our friends. I watched President John F. Kennedy stand with Israel, understand the importance of Israel, and give a speech for their stability 2 years before he ever ran for president. And where are the Democrat individuals running for president today? Running from AIPAC. I watched after the passing of JFK that in Israel they built a monument to him. It's a fallen tree that shows a life cut short, but it shows the root of the relationship so strong that it still stands. But I watched the Democrat running for president take a different path. Have you seen what Ken Livingstone currently tweeted? Ken Livingstone was a part of the Labour Party. He was the first member of the Labour Party elected mayor of London. He ran for the Prime Minister, was beaten by Blair. His tweet just last week, "It's not anti-Semitic to hate the Jews of Israel." He no longer calls himself a Labour Party member. He calls himself a Democrat socialist. I have concerns because I see people within our own Democratic Party in the House no longer call themselves a Democrat, but call themselves a Democrat socialist. If you were ever in Washington, I want you to come to my office. I want you to see the paintings that are on my wall. I see members in the House. They've been there. They've seen them. I believe in a purpose-driven life. I have Lincoln that is painted in black and white. The greatest challenge ever to our Constitution was the Civil War. I have Ronald Reagan standing behind us in color. Ronald Reagan would tell us, and smiling, "If you believe your policies bring people more freedom and liberty, be happy. There's no reason to be angry. You want people to know what you're drinking. You want people to crave what you understand." But when I look out at you, it reminds me what is in our conference room. It is the portrait 8 feet by 6 feet of Washington crossing the Delaware. You have all seen this painting before. Do you realize that painting was not painted by an American, but an immigrant? An immigrant who had lived in America but went back to Germany. He was not there on Christmas 1776 when they crossed the Delaware. He didn't paint it until 1850, 1851. There was no iPhone to take a picture or a camera. So he painted it for one purpose only: to inspire Germany to have a revolution that believed in the democracy and freedoms that America and Israel hold true today. The stability that drives the world. Now, he gets it wrong, historians will tell you, because the Delaware looks like the Rhine. But we give him a break for that, right? He gets the boat wrong. Historians will tell you that Washington crossed in a barge or a Durham boat. He just takes a rowboat. He puts 13 people in a rowboat. Why would he put 13? 13 colonies, right? But he only shows you 12 faces. He has Washington standing up in a ceremonial uniform, not a battle uniform, with his hand on his chest, crossing the Delaware. We know that's not true. But if you look at Washington and say, "That man is so stoic. I would follow him anywhere. I bet he's never lost a battle." But history tells us we had never won one yet. That was our first victory when we surprised the Hessians. But what I want you to look at, and I want you to see when you go home and Google this picture to see if I'm telling you the truth, I want you to look at the second person in the boat. He's Scottish. Or the person directly from across from him in the green jacket, he's African American. Or you come down the boat in the midsection in the red is a woman, in the very back is a Native American. Now, I cannot tell you if they're in a boat that night, but to this young immigrant who had lived in America, that's who he believed would be in the boat. Now, the second to last person is a farmer, and he has a hand across his face. When I look at you, I think of that hand. You see, what the artist was saying, here we are as a young nation, much like what I started my speech on, a sliver of a creation of a country that had a water of body on one side and enemies that did not want to succeed surrounding us. That we are a young nation having never won before, willing to risk everything for the idea of freedom and liberty. Here's a hand, would you get in and join us? It's as true today as it was then, but the challenge is different. The challenge is unique. Yeah, you're going to get excited hearing the president talk. We're going to celebrate his ability to stand with Israel. But it cannot end today. I want you to go home and challenge your city councils, challenge your states. They should be moving legislation against BDS. They should be standing with Israel. They should understand the importance of the American-Israeli support. I will make this pledge to you. I will not stop fighting. I will not stop moving the resolutions. I will not stop condemning what I see becomes anti-Semitic. I will stand and make us stronger, but I need you to stand with us. Anybody in this room that wants to join with us, you are welcome. Anybody that wants to get in the boat and cross it, you're welcome to join. We've got somebody like George Washington. We've got somebody who understands what the greatness of this country means. We've got somebody who is fearless. President Trump didn't go do a study to know the importance of Golan Heights. President Trump didn't go and call the world leaders. He knew the world would be stronger. President Trump didn't have to ask Congress if he should move the embassy. He made the promise and he kept it. President Trump will always stand with Israel, and so will we. "2020 is close at hand. It's going to be a battle of socialism versus freedom. You're not going to be sitting down and wondering where you should stand. You're going to be in the boat. We're going to win. President Trump is going to get 4 more years. The Senate will stand again and hold even a stronger majority. And the House will no longer have a speaker called Pelosi. So join with us on this journey. It's every day. God bless you, and God bless America and Israel as we stand together.
Please welcome our favorite auctioneer from the great state of Missouri, Congressman Billy Long.
I really don't know what to say to you all. This is only the 7th out of the last 8 years I've been here. So I really don't think I know this group very well. But I want to take you back to May of 2018, May 15th. I'm in my office. Call our embassy in Tel Aviv. Hello? Yeah, this is Congressman Long, and I want to speak to Ambassador Friedman. We're sorry, Congressman. Ambassador Friedman's not here anymore. They've moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Oh, okay. And I hung up. So the next day, May 16th, dial up our embassy in Tel Aviv. Yeah, this is Congressman Long calling, and can I speak to Ambassador Friedman? Congressman, Ambassador Friedman's not here anymore. The embassy has been moved to Jerusalem. Oh, okay. So hung up. Next day, I call back, May 17th. It's Congressman Long. Could I speak to Ambassador Friedman? Congressman, I don't mean to be rude to a congressman, but haven't you called here 3 days in a row? For 3 days in a row, haven't I told you that the embassy has moved to Jerusalem? And I said, oh, I know, but I just love hearing it. Donald Trump came down the escalator, and he said he was going to run for president. I went home that night, my wife Barbara, and she sends her condolences for not being here. Our youngest daughter, Kelly, 30th birthday. They're doing a little deal together with our older daughter, Kayleen. So a lot of you asked me about Barbara the other night. They're doing great, but just couldn't be here because of what they're doing for Kelly's 30th birthday. But Trump comes down. I go home that night. Barbara said, Donald Trump's running for president, and he's going to win the primary, and he's going to win the general. And I said, Barbara, you're crazy. That is not going to happen. And Matt Brooks said he saw me come down the escalator in Longworth for the first time. And he said the same thing. He said, Barbara must be crazy. It took me about 3 days to get on the Trump train. And Trump's people will tell you I originated the phrase Trump train. I was in Tanzania in August of 15, and with 30 congressmen. Some of them had donated $50,000 personally to another PAC, one of the guys running, and they all thought I was nuts. But see this here? Make Trump president again. The president hasn't seen this. It's the first one in captivity. I had it made at the mall over here yesterday, so I hope I didn't mess my hair up. But I hope that it fits him because this is for him. So when you see him, I'm going to set this right here, and don't let one of these other speakers coming out cabbage onto it, you know. And so anyway, I see, is Alex out there? They're supposed to give me, they're working on their time frame thing. But anyway, if they need me to get off, they can play music or something, I guess. But, you know, Harry Truman was also from Missouri. I'm from Missouri. Harry Truman said, when you get elected to Congress, you think, wow, how did I ever get here? Because there's like less than 11,000 people, the history of our country, ever been elected to Congress. Wow, how did I ever get here? He said, then after about your first 6 months, you think, how did some of these other people ever get here? And that's what we're thinking right now on the Democrat side. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to tell you I let Lee Zeldin and Kevin McCarthy do all the heavy lifting, all the serious stuff, you know. But I just want to pick up on little things. I get an email the other morning at 12:16 a.m. I open it up. It says the south door of the Longworth office building is closed due to, now everybody knows who, Alexandria Ocasio, whatever it is, yeah. AOC she goes by, okay? So the email, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It says, the south door Longworth office building is closed for AOC maintenance. And I'm like, Stepford Congresswoman explains a lot. She's a robot. They had to close it down for AOC maintenance. And I'm like, that can't be right. So I Googled AOC, and it's Architect of Capital. So it's but there for a minute, I thought that really explains a lot. She's down for maintenance. Donald Trump spoke for 2.5 hours. No, he spoke for an hour and a half the other day at a Republican dinner in Washington, D.C. And hour and a half and never took a drink of water, or as we would refer to it, the Rubio. I can't do that. I can't talk 2 minutes. Now, if you didn't like that one, maybe you'll like this one. Too bad they don't make it for guys with big heads, but anyway. There is no one, see my pen here? Ronald Reagan's second inauguration. I wore it to Donald J. Trump's inauguration. Why? Why are you wearing Reagan's pen? I said, because this is the third inauguration for Ronald Reagan. And that's how I look at it. I don't even know if Reagan could support Israel as well as this president has. We've gone from sneaking Bibi in the side door of the White House to Bibi's now using Trump in all of his campaign commercials. We've got in Congress, we had a protester one day. I don't know if you've seen this, but if you want to have a little fun, Google Billy Long Auction's protester. We had a protester that got up, and I look at my buddy Bill Johnson next to him. I turn my microphone on. She's screaming, filming herself with her selfie stick. Chairman taps his gavel. Ma'am, you'll need to sit down. She's just screaming, you know. I look at Bill Johnson, turn my mic on, and I said, I can't hear what she's saying. thinking he'd turn his on. So I can't either, Billy. And I'd say, well, what do you think? So we could just talk over on microphones. She didn't have a microphone. Chairman Walden, ma'am, if you don't sit down, we are going to have you removed. And she's still going. So I go back to Johnson again. You'll hear me on the tape. And I said, I can't understand what she's saying. Dead silence. I'm like, this is going to be a one-man conversation. Time at 25, 7.5 down, $30 down, 2.5 now, 5, 35, 7.5, 48. Hit, $48 down here, 2.5. I got up to I was selling her cell phone. I got up to $525. And they finally got her out of the room. The people that love it are the Capitol Hill Police. I mean, I've been here 37 years, Congressman. I've never seen anything that good. I've been here 17 years, because they're the ones that always have to deal with them, have to drag them out of the room. And so they absolutely loved it. And I was going to auction a couple of these hats off, but they tell me we're out of time, so I'm not going to be able to do that. But I'm sure Matt Brooks will sell them to you at a slight markup. I've got 3 of the Make Trump President Again, and 4 Make Trump president, 4 of the Make Israel Great Again. And the best part of my shtick I can't do because Brooks gave me 5 minutes, But I've decided if the doctor gives me 15 minutes to live, I'm going to let Kevin McCarthy keep the timer. God bless y'all. God bless United States of America. God bless Israel.
Please welcome school and student safety advocate from Parkland, Florida, Andy Pollack.
How's everybody? For those of you that don't know me, my name's Andy Pollack. I come from Broward County, Florida. I'm embarrassed to say that. And my daughter, Meadow, my beautiful daughter, Meadow, was murdered in Parkland, Florida, a little over a year ago. But it's nice here. I wanted to take this opportunity out to come here and be with a bunch of Jewish Republicans that I appreciate. So when Matt called me and offered me this opportunity, I jumped on it because I wanted to come here and speak to you all, and also I knew the president was going to be here, and I was going to come here and warm up everybody for the president. So there's 3 reasons why I wanted to come here. One is I'm really proud of my Jewish heritage. Number 2, I wanted to explain why we as Jews and Republicans need to support President Trump in the 2020 election. And number 3, I really despise Democrats. I knew you'd like that one. A couple of weeks ago, we celebrated Purim, and I was reminded of listening intensely in 2015 to Prime Minister Netanyahu when he pled to Congress. He compared the story of Purim, when the future of the Jewish people were threatened, to how the Iran deal would pave the way to a nuclear weapon and possibly the destruction of Israel. I heard Netanyahu plea, and with my love for Israel, I knew I had to get involved. I was disappointed that liberal Jews could support signing this threat to Israel. Up until then, I never was in politics, and I never even voted. But I listened to President Trump say during his debates that he would end the Iran deal. I voted for the first time ever when I voted for President Trump, primarily because he was going to end that Iran deal. Since that time, I've become increasingly more disappointed in Democratic Jews. America has never seen a Democratic Party so enthralled by anti-Semitism, yet many American Jews seem blinded to it. The good news is we've never had a greater friend in the White House than Donald J. Trump. It's really a disgrace that so many Jews can't tell the difference between friend and foe. But we in this room, we can. So now, I want to play a little game with you all, because it's my job to fire this crowd up before the president comes out. So, when I raise my right hand, I want everyone in this room to yell Democrat. When I raise my left hand, I want you to yell Trump. So let's practice. You ready? Pretty good. Okay, here we go. What party promoted a deal that would have allowed our worst enemies, Iran, to acquire a nuclear bomb and possibly annihilate Israel? Nice. Like that. Who was the president that tore up the deal and treats our enemies as his enemies? Who declared Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights? Who moved the embassy to Jerusalem? What party showed us they are literally incapable of condemning anti-Semitism? Who do we have to do everything for to keep in the White House? I believe we all get it, right? I was never political before my daughter was murdered last year at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. But I'm going to tell you, because so many people ask me, and this is, I didn't even put this in my speech, but I'm going to tell you because everyone asked me, Andy, how do you do this? How do you get up there day in and day out and fight for my daughter? And I'm going to tell you why. It's still tough for me. It's over a year. But I love my daughter so much. And for my daughter to die in vain, I'm just not going to let it happen. So I could have took the easy path when my daughter was murdered, like a majority of parents and these unethical Democrats in Broward, and just blamed guns. But I took another path. I wanted to know the facts. I wanted to know how my daughter got murdered. I put her in that school, my precious, beautiful daughter. How did this happen to her? And I wanted to know why. So it quickly became clear that a multitude of failures came together to create and enable the killer. Broward County Sheriff, you can guess what party he belongs to. He had politicized his department. I remember him when Hillary Clinton came to Broward, and he was dressed in his uniform, and he went campaigning all around county with Hillary Clinton. I knew that we were in trouble when I saw that. His department, if you could believe it or not, went to the killer's house over 40 times without making an arrest, which allowed the killer to be able to pass a background check and purchase a rifle. 40 times they went to his house. We found out that Obama-era leniency policies implemented by left-wing education bureaucrats let the shooter slip through the cracks. And what's crazy is, when the families in Broward County recognized this, and they wanted accountability, local politicians in Broward County attacked us. Not only me, other Democratic parents, for wanting accountability. They called us racists for wanting to hold the Broward Superintendent, Robert Runcie, accountable. And I know you're going to get this right. What party does Robert Runcie belong to? Right. The media and national Democratic politicians didn't care about the families or why it happened. To them, my daughter's murder was just an opportunity to promote their gun control agenda. And honestly, the liberal Jews in Broward County were okay with it. But Republicans were different. Rick Scott, my good friend Rick, you want to talk about a guy who's not a career politician? That's my friend Rick Scott. Really cares, businessman, and he loves his country. I asked him, we were going somewhere in his campaign. I go, Rick, why do you Rick's got grandkids. He's well-to-do. He worked hard his whole life. I go, Rick, why do you want to run for Senate? Tell me why. You got your grandkids. Look what I've been through. I lost my daughter. Why do you want to do it? He goes, Andy, because I love my country. And that's Senator Scott. Ron DeSantis, Governor Ron. I became very friendly with Ron DeSantis during his campaign, and we still talk all the time. Ron ran on accountability when I met Ron for the first time in Broward County. I never met him before. He goes, I want to hold public officials accountable. And when Ron told me that, I said, I'm going to be with Ron DeSantis. And Ron made promises. First month in office, he removed that sheriff for all the families and me. What he also did, Ron DeSantis, what you guys won't know, but I know it because I live it, and I live it every day without my daughter. Ron tried to remove that, I wish I could really call him what I feel like it, but that unethical piece of garbage, Superintendent Runcie, he tried to remove him, but he couldn't remove him because he wasn't elected, he was appointed. So you know what Ron DeSantis does? He drops a nuclear bomb in Broward County with a grand jury investigation for the families. That's what he did. Ron DeSantis also signed an executive order looking into those Obama-era leniency policies in Florida that were partially responsible for my daughter and that massacre that day. That's what Ron DeSantis did. And President Trump, you won't hear about this in the media, but I know it personally because we've been in touch ever since that happened to my daughter. He invited my family and myself to the Oval Office, the president, where we sat down and we spoke about what happened. And I recommended to the president, I think you should put a commission together to look into school safety for the whole country. And when I said that to him, the guy really cares. He's a really righteous guy. And he looks over at Hope Hicks and he goes, I like that idea, Andy. And that's what he did. He put in a federal school safety commission that was very intense. What a great president. You don't hear about that on the fake news, what he did. And what meant to me so much in that commission that he put together, he repealed the Obama-era federal leniency policies that were partly responsible for that massacre. He didn't get any credit for it. He never gets credit he deserves. But let me tell you, because I know this personally, he doesn't care about that. He cares about doing the righteous thing no matter what the critics say. A lot of Jews don't understand this, but us here in this room, we get it. We understand who our enemies are and who our friends are. And we all understand that we never had a greater friend in the White House than President Trump. The Democrats refuse to work together to benefit this country. They would prefer America to fail rather than see President Trump make gains in trade, immigration, and foreign policy. They refuse to be satisfied even after the Russian collusion Mueller investigation, which proved to be bullshit. understand on a smaller scale what the president deals with, because I dealt with these same unethical Broward Democrats, just like he deals with them in D.C. Most of them Jewish in Broward, and they suffer from the same delusional thinking. Rather than learn from the failures that allowed my daughter's death, they cover for each other, they hide the truth, and they spin the narrative to gun control. Right now, our country stands at a precipice. If President Trump doesn't remain in the White House in 2020, our country is in danger of turning into a corrupt, dysfunctional Broward County. And I don't want to let that happen. With the Democrats in office, the level of anti-Semitism will increase. It is up to us now, just as it depended on Esther and Mordecai in the story of Purim, to once again safeguard our future. Thank you.
Please welcome Jewish Democrats who have recently seen the light and are now voting for President Trump.
Good morning. My name is Jill Weinstein. I'm a 60-year-old retired federal employee living in Florida, and I am a recovering Democrat. Like most of us in the Jewish community, I was raised to be a Democrat. I was taught that Democrats are good, Republicans are bad. My first vote was for Jimmy Carter. I always voted Democrat starting from that day in 1976. So in 2008, I naturally voted for Barack Obama because I believed in the hope and change. So in 2012, well, I still hadn't seen that hope and change, so of course I voted for him again. But over the next few years after that, I watched my Democratic Party turn against me. Then in 2015, I watched the first Republican debate. I liked what I saw, Mr. Donald Trump. And then Hillary called 50% of my fellow Americans a basket of deplorables. In 2016, I registered as a Republican and celebrated the election quietly at home. Today, I'm a proud Zionist. I'm a proud Republican Jew. I love our great country. I love our President, Donald J. Trump. Like everyone in this room, I will be voting for President Trump in 2020 to keep America great.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shabbat Shalom. Happy Rosh Chodesh Nisan, our time of freedom and redemption. Wow, what an incredible, amazing, surreal moment this is to be standing here and speaking in front of this distinguished group of people. You know, I've served as a cantor in South Florida for over 20 years, and on a typical Shabbat at this time, I'd probably be somewhere between the Torah service and Adon Olam, so I'm really still waiting for somebody to pinch me. Imagine the irony that the highlight of a cantor's career is giving a speech, you know? But it's not just any speech. It's not just any speech. This is a huge, huge opportunity. A huge opportunity for us to tell our story about how and why we left the party of our parents and grandparents, and why it's imperative for other Jews to do the same. My parents were born in Israel, and they came here legally. They came here legally in 1965, and they registered Democrat, and they remained loyal to the party until they escaped along with the rest of us deplorables. Back in high school, when it came time for me to register, I didn't know any better, so I registered in line with the family, keeping the sacred tradition alive. My departure began during Obama's first term, and it developed steadily throughout his presidency. You know, the fundamental changes in our country that I saw taking place from 2008 to 2012 were just not the ones that I hoped for, but I realized, unfortunately, that they were the ones that we were promised. Any criticism of Obama from that point on had me labeled as everything from a racist to a Nazi sympathizer, and it was coming from fellow Jews. I never thought it would happen, but tearing up the faded voter registration card that I had since 1990, this past summer, I officially exited the party. So how do we make others see what we see? How do we make our fellow Jews realize that President Trump is by far the greatest friend to Israel that we have ever had in the White House? Passover is around the corner, as you all know, and it's our obligation. It's our obligation to teach our children about the plight of our ancestors. We must know how to answer the age-old question when our children ask us, why is this president different from all other presidents? And our answer is the same as we were slaves. We were slaves to a party that made promises and didn't keep them. But with President Trump, it's promises made, promises kept. President Trump moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. President Trump stopped a payment of $200 million that Obama made to the Palestinians. President Trump cut funding to the Palestinian Authority. President Trump removed the word occupied from all State Department documents related to Israel. President Trump closed the Palestinian Embassy in Washington, D.C. President Trump supports Israel's absolute right to self-defense. President Trump halted the sale of F-35s to Turkey. And just last week, President Trump recognized the Golan Heights as sovereign Israeli territory. Any sensible person would come to the conclusion that President Trump is hands down the most pro-Israel president in U.S. history. So I only ask now, with Passover coming, that whatever force, whatever stronghold it is that's hardening the hearts of our fellow Jews, that has them clinging to what is no longer the party of JFK, I say, let my people go. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. It's a pleasure to speak to you. My name is Jean, and I am a 74-year-old Jewish woman who grew up in the era when the Jewish community strongly turned to the Democratic Party. I was taught that the Democrats were for the party of the downtrodden and the underdogs. My grandmother had a picture of FDR in her bedroom when I was a little girl and told me that was her father. True story. That's how much of a Democrat she was. I have watched the Democratic Party change over the years. I was disappointed when Jimmy Carter became openly anti-Israel, and it was not called out by his party. Barack Obama was the final straw. His ties to people who hate Israel were just unbelievable to me. I tried to warn family and friends that this guy would make it cool to be anti-Israel. Unfortunately, no one believed me. As they say, the rest is history. The Democratic Party is now increasingly turning away from support of Israel among Democratic voters and their leaders in government. After seeing how President Obama treated Israel, I made up my mind to vote against the Democrats in 2016, no matter who the Republican candidate was. But after hearing President Trump speak at the Republican convention in 2016, I was so impressed, I thought, this genius needs to win. He has the right ideas for America and will be pro-Israel. Today, I am so grateful for his unwavering support of Israel and for stopping the Iran nuclear deal. The Democrats are no longer the party your fathers and grandfathers supported. The Democrats don't represent us anymore. Please encourage your friends and family who still have not woken up to leave the Democratic Party and support Trump in 2020. Thank you. I got it. Thank you.
I'm hitting cleanup. I'm number 4. I'm Steve Bubba Cohen, and this former Democrat is not a Jew with trembling knees. I am a proud Republican, pro-Israel American Jew. A little history. I was phonetically bar mitzvahed in late May of 1965. 4 months later, Sandy Koufax, the best pitcher in baseball, put his religion before his career and refused to pitch in the World Series because it fell on Yom Kippur. June 5th, 1967, on my 15th birthday, Israel, surrounded by Egypt, Syria, Jordan, and against overwhelming odds, went to war. At 15, I would experience 2 miracles. Sandy Koufax would pitch in Game 7 and win, and Israel would miraculously defeat their Arab enemies in just 6 days. I would become a lifelong liberal Democrat that would vote for every Democratic presidential candidate since I was first able to vote in 1972. This included John Kerry in 2004 and twice for Barack Obama. 4 years ago, I felt betrayed by Barack Obama, John Kerry, and the cowardly Democratic Party when they proposed the Iran nuclear deal and put the only democracy in the Middle East, Israel, at risk of nuclear extinction. Like Moses did over 3,000 years ago. After more than 40 years of wandering in the Democratic Party, I would leave the only political party I ever knew and become a proud Republican American Jew. Like my other new friends up here, many of my then friends would socially exclude me for being a Republican. Wow, this is absolutely fabulous. Thank you for being here, Mr. Adelson. In closing, I am a pro-Israel, pro-woman, pro-black, pro-gay, pro-Hispanic, pro-all lives matters, proud Republican American Jew. And yes, I am a supporter of President Donald J. Trump. Thank you, President Trump, for making me proud to be a Republican. Thank you, President Trump, for making me proud to be a Jew. And yes, like most of the people in this room, thank you, President Trump, for making America great again. God bless America. God bless President Trump.
And gentlemen, please welcome RJC National Chairman, Senator Norm Coleman.
Shabbat Shalom. Mr. President, I must confess there were some doubters in this room, and I was foolishly among them, during your battle for the Republican nomination. But as we reflect upon all the great things you've done to make America great again and to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship, please know, Mr. President, that this RJC room is filled with love and admiration for you, and we will do everything in our power to assure your reelection. As we approach the Passover holiday and in reflecting on the accomplishments of President Trump, I'm reminded of my favorite part of the Passover Seder, the song we sing about being grateful to God for all the gifts he gave the Jewish people, such as taking us out of slavery, giving us the Torah and Shabbat. And our response to each of those gifts is that if God had only done one thing, one of those things, we chant Dayenu. It would have been enough. So let's get warmed up for our Passover with our own chant of what Donald Trump has done for Israel, the Jewish people, and for America's national and economic security. So let's do the RJC Dayenu. Had President Trump only passed the largest tax cut in history, say it with me, Dayenu. If President Trump had only rolled back business-killing regulations to unleash an economic boom across all sectors of our economy, Dayenu. Had President Trump only put two conservative Supreme Court judges on the court, Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, we would say, Dayenu. Had President Trump only appointed Nikki Haley as ambassador to the UN, unleashing a powerful message that we will not tolerate the UN's anti-Israel bias, Dayenu. If President Trump had only stopped giving U.S. tax dollars to the PLO to be used to pay terrorists to kill Americans and Israelis, we would say, Dayenu. If President Trump had only closed the Palestinian Liberation Organization office in Washington, D.C., Dayenu. If President Trump had only been the first United States sitting president to pray at the Western Wall, we would have said, Dayenu. If President Trump had only canceled the Obama-Iran deal that guaranteed Iran a path to a nuclear weapon, we would say, Dayenu. If President Trump had only recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights, we would say, Dayenu. Friends, and I don't know if we have the photo behind me, but there's one that when we were there for the opening, and you can see it there. It speaks volumes. For over 30 years, American presidents have promised they would follow U.S. law and move our embassy to Jerusalem, but only one president, Donald J. Trump, promised and he delivered. Yes, if President Trump had only moved our embassy in Israel to Israel's eternal and undivided capital, Jerusalem, we would say, Dayenu. Friends, let's give a rousing RJC welcome to the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House, President Donald J. Trump.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Thank you. What a great day. Thank you, Norm, for that wonderful introduction and for your leadership of this truly tremendous organization. So many friends. I have so many friends out in the audience. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. He's going back home to mommy. And he will be reprimanded. He will be reprimanded. She gets it. I'm truly thrilled to be back with so many friends, supporters, patriots at the annual conference of the Republican Jewish Coalition, which is now setting records. Here today is someone who has been with us from the very beginning, a true fighter for our shared values, your terrific executive director, Matt Brooks. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Also joining us are two great leaders you know very well, my good friends, Sheldon and Miriam Adelson. Great people. They like you both, Sheldon. It's pretty good. Last year it was my honor to award Miriam the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's a big deal. I also want to thank Senator Lindsey Graham. Is here, Senator. Where is Lindsey? Senator Lindsey, great man, great friend of Israel. Thank you, Lindsey. A man who fights all the time for Israel and for everything else. Another great senator, David Perdue, Georgia. Senator Kevin Cramer. Where's Kevin? Kevin, thank you, Kevin. He fought a battle you wouldn't believe it. He beat somebody by 11 points that was unbeatable. That's pretty good, Kevin. I said, you can do it. That was my only thing. I said, you can do it. He won by a lot. And he's a great gentleman, and he's a big, big fan and supporter of Israel, as well as a really terrific leader. He's our leader, Kevin McCarthy. And we have representatives that are outstanding. The great Billy Long. Where's Billy? Billy Long. Denver Riggleman. Denver. Thank you. Thank you, Denver. Michael Waltz. Thank you, Michael. Great job you do, Mike. And a very good friend of mine also, Lee Zeldin. And a special thanks to Representative Omar of Minnesota. Oh, I forgot. She doesn't like Israel. I forgot. I'm so sorry. Oh. No, she doesn't like Israel, does she? Oh, please, I apologize. A great friend of mine, one of the most successful men in the state, amazing guy, tremendous businessman, Mr. Phil Ruffin. Where's Phil? Phil? Thank you, Phil. A competitor of mine in Manhattan for a long time, always built great buildings, great architecture, was known for design and success. Loves Israel, George Klein. Thank you, George. Thank you, George. So many friends in this room. We're also grateful to be joined by members of my administration, including Jason Greenblatt, and a young man named Jared Kushner. He is fighting for Israel. Thank you very much. Great job. Peace in the Middle East. If they can't do it, nobody can. David Friedman, your ambassador to Israel. He loves Israel. He's doing an incredible job. Thank you, David. Finally, to every member of the Republican Jewish Coalition, thank you for your incredible support and your outstanding commitment to our country, to our safety, and to electing more Republicans. We need more Republicans. Let's go so we can win everything. Over the next 19 months, I know that the Republican Jewish Coalition will help lead our party to another historic victory. And by the way, we did very well at 18. You can ask David and Lindsey. We won the Senate. We took on two more, there were 3 or 4 that were very close that weren't supposed to be. All of a sudden, that didn't happen, and we're going to talk about that, I think, when we get back to Washington. But I'll tell you what, we picked up 2 Senate seats, and now it's 53 to 47, and we have 53 great senators. And when it comes to appointments, when it comes to the United States Supreme Court, when it comes to approving all of the judges, way over 100 judges, federal judges, you need the Senate. We did well. They don't like to talk about that. They don't like, and I don't have enough time. So many people in the House. But the people I went for, like in Kentucky, Matt Barr, he won. He was down, he won. We won so much. We won in Georgia, great governor, Brian Kemp. They had President Obama. They had Oprah. They had Michelle Obama. They were going for their new star in the party. And I was going for Brian. All he had was Trump. You know who won? Brian won. Brian won. And the governor of a great state known as Ohio. You have a great governor. He was not expected to win. He campaigned brilliantly. We did some incredible rallies. He won by almost 7 points. He won easily. So Mike is great. And the governor of Florida. Governor of Florida. That was supposed to be a close race, and it was a tough race, but we won that one. And Oklahoma and many other places, we did so well. We get no credit. Fake news. We get no credit. We get no credit. Let's just keep winning. I'd rather have it that way than get too much credit and not win. That happens too to some people. Doesn't happen to me. When I spoke to you as a candidate 3 years ago, America's economy was stagnant, our military was depleted, and the relationship between the United States and Israel was at probably the lowest point in history. How the hell did you support President Obama? How did you do it? How did you do it? How did you support the Democrats? Yeah, you guys didn't. I think probably most of the people in this room didn't. You love Israel. But, you know, you look at the Iran deal. You look at so much that was done so negatively. Now, just 3 years later, I stand before you as the President of the United States to report on a very different situation. Under Republican leadership, America's economy is the hottest anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. Our military will soon be more powerful than ever before. $700 billion, $716 billion. This year, I don't know, David and Lindsey, I think probably in the 750 to 725 range. Have to do it. You don't have the military, all the stuff. Doesn't matter, does it, huh? You don't have to worry about inflation. You don't have to worry about anything. You got to have a strong, strong military. We'll have the strongest than we've ever had before. And the incredible bond between the United States and Israel has never been stronger than it is right now. America is thriving, America is booming, and America is winning, winning, winning like never before. We're respected again. We are respected again. It's been a long time. Since the election, we've created more than 5.5 million new jobs, including 600,000 manufacturing jobs, things that nobody would have allowed me to say on the campaign trail. They would have said, oh, he exaggerates. After years of stagnation, wages are rising fast. Think of it. People had one job 21 years ago. They made more money in real dollars than they did 2 years ago with 3 jobs and 2 jobs. And now, for the first time, they have a choice. Our economy is so strong, they can have a choice of jobs, and wages are going up. First time in many, many years. And one of the things that makes me happiest, frankly, is that they're going up most quickly for the lowest income Americans. Great, right? Great. Our unemployment has reached the lowest level in more than 50 years. And we will be breaking that record, I believe, pretty soon. We slashed 30,000 pages of job-killing regulations from the Federal Register, an all-time record. It doesn't matter if they were there for 4 years or 8 years or 10 years in one instance. We really did something. We had, take a look at FDR. All of those years, nobody slashed them like us. You had a 4-termer. You have a lot of 2-termers, and in less than 2 years, and I happen to believe that that was as important and maybe even more important than the largest tax cut in the history of our country that you also did. We're fixing broken trade deals. We're working on a trade deal now with China. We're doing very well, very well. Because of tariffs, we're making a deal that's very good. You'll be happy. If it happens, might not happen, but we have tremendous power. We have to tell our people that represent us in Washington that when countries, I'm not talking about China, I'm talking about many countries, when they're charging us 100% tax or tariff, when they're charging us 200 and 250 and 300%, and we charge them nothing, it's okay to charge them something. Maybe you could explain that to some of your people that say, oh, we don't like tariffs. I mean, we have a case where a certain country, India, is charging us, what a great country, a great friend, Prime Minister Modi, charging us over 100% for many things. We're charging them nothing for similar or the same product. And I have senators that say, you can't do that. It's not free trade. Where do they come from? Where do they come from? It's not free trade. I don't know. Where's David? You got to work on these people, David. Where's Lindsay? Will you please work on them? It's the craziest thing. It's stupid trade. We have so much stupid trade. We lost, for many years now, $800 billion a year in trade. Who the hell makes these deals? You're probably saying to yourself, those are not good negotiators. Actually, Democrats made a lot of them, no, but Republicans made a lot of them too. That's the amazing thing. They made a lot. $800 billion, but we're getting it back. We're getting it back. We're going to be getting a lot of it back. Tell you one thing, if they let me really do my thing, we'd get it back. But I have to be a little bit politically correct by saying it's okay if we lose 20 billion with a country, because we want to be nice. We want to be nice to everybody. We're cracking down on countries that cheat. We're replacing NAFTA with the brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. the USMCA. NAFTA was the worst trade deal ever made. You know, many of you people have factories and plants. They're still empty. They signed NAFTA, and it was that great big sucking sound. Remember that? Remember that? Ross Perot? Great big sucking sound. That's what happened. They left. They went to Mexico. They went to Canada. They went to a lot of places. It was a bad thing for us. But we'll be ending NAFTA, hopefully very soon. Very soon. And one of the things in the New Deal is that it's very difficult financially for a company to leave the United States, fire all of its employees, move, let's say, to Mexico or Canada, open up a new plant, make a product, sell it in for no tax. So we end up with unemployment and nothing but loss and empty factories. That's not happening anymore, folks. It's not happening anymore. We've ended the war on American energy, and the United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world, bigger than Russia and bigger than Saudi Arabia. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? 2 years. Thank you very much. And we're working now on getting pipelines approved in Texas that would normally take 10, 12, 14, 15 years to get approved. And we're trying to get them approved very rapidly. And if we do that, we're going to pick up another 20 to 25%. We'll be leading by so much. We already are leading by a lot. It's all happened over a very short period of time. And we've confirmed more than 100 new federal judges to interpret the Constitution as written. And as Norm said, and I appreciate that, so important, Norm, we have confirmed 2 incredible Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh. Don't let the Democrats take it away from us. They'll take it all away. They'll take it all away, including the judges. With the help of Republicans in Congress, we have secured record funding for our military. Our military is now going to be stronger than ever before. Ever, not even close. We're developing new weapon systems. We're developing things that nobody even thought of. Levels of technology that nobody else has. With all of that being said, if we can be smart, and if China and Russia and maybe 1 or 2 others, if necessary, can be smart, we'd all be saving a tremendous amount of money, and that's okay with me. But we will be so far in the lead. We always have to be in the lead. And thanks to our focus on burden sharing, $100 billion more dollars will be coming this year to NATO. Think of that. Other countries, in certain instances, we're getting an almost free ride. We protect them, and they're delinquent. You know, I use a real estate term for George Klein. He understands. He understands the word delinquent. They were delinquent. I said, you got to pay. President Obama got in. He made a nice speech, but he forgot to mention you got to pay. President Bush was wonderful. They didn't mention you got to pay. And you got to mean it, not just mention, you got to mean it. I said, you got to pay, because we're in a position. Everybody wants us. But how do you do that when people aren't paying? How do you do that? We feel foolish. We feel like fools. We're not going to be fools anymore. We've been a fool as a nation for so long. We're not going to be fools anymore. Last year, I withdrew the United States from one of the most dangerous, one-sided deals ever negotiated, the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. They wanted to kill Israel. They wanted to destroy Israel. And maybe you could explain to the young man that just got taken out what it means when a country shouts as they're signing the deal, death to Israel. Maybe you could explain that to him. We've now imposed the toughest ever sanctions on the Iranian dictatorship. And it is not the same country it was when I took power. When I took over the presidency, I will tell you, one of the first meetings I had was at the Pentagon. Great generals, great people. I wanted a briefing on Iran. We had 14 different sites. They were all very, very dangerous, blow-ups all over. They were either behind it, they had mercenaries, they had money, or they had their own soldiers there, all over the Middle East. It's a whole different story today, folks. They have riots in the streets. They have very little money coming in. A lot of things have changed. North Korea, we're getting along with North Korea. Let's see how it works out. But we have a good relationship. Don't forget, I have a very good relationship with Kim Jong-un. When I first came in, they were setting rockets and nuclear explosions, and a lot of things were happening. Can't tell you what's going to happen. Had to walk from the one deal. Was it going to be a right deal? But we have a great relationship. We'll see what happens. I hope we're going to be able to do something. Maybe, maybe not, but I hope we're going to be able. Relationship is very important. You know that very well. We're confronting the deadly menace of radical Islamic terrorism. When I took office just over 2 years ago, ISIS controlled more than 20,000 square miles in Iraq and Syria. I held up a map. It was so much red, red meaning them, all red, showing the different sites. Today, the ISIS caliphate has been 100% obliterated. 100%. And my previous general said that it was going to take, sir, it will take 2 years. I flew to Iraq. I met a different group of generals. Sir, we can do it in 1 week. I said, you can take a little longer than that. They did it in a few weeks. They're great, right? Raisin Cain. His name is Raisin. What's your first name? Raisin. Raisin. What the hell kind of, what's your last name? Cain. Wait a minute. Your name's Raisin Cain? I like you as a general. I think that's what I want. Even Sheldon Adelson likes that as a general. It's the kind of a guy he'd have. I also took another historic action that had been decades in waiting. The United States recognized the true capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. Because unlike other presidents, I keep my promises. Every president for many decades said they were going to do that. And I understand really why. Because when it was determined that maybe I'd do it, maybe there was a chance, the calls I got from leaders of other countries were unbelievable. Presidents, dictators, prime minister, kings, queens, everybody. My phone was ringing off the hook. So I knew I was going to do it. So I left a message. I said, I'm going to call you next week. They said, could we speak to him? I said, no, he's not available. They'll call it lying. The fake news will say, that's a horrible lie. I want to be nice. No, I'll call you next week. I look forward to it. I had so many calls after I did this. It took me like 3 weeks to make all the calls. But I knew what they were calling about. So I did it. I did it. Then I started calling people back. King, how are you? How have you been? I called you. last week. He said, "What's up?" Well, I wanted to talk to you about Israel and the embassy in Jerusalem. I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I wish I would have known. I did it yesterday. Right? It's much easier. But I now know why other presidents, I don't really hold it against them other than they didn't keep their promise, right? They didn't keep their promise, David. So that's the way it is. And we got you something that you wanted. I can tell you, Sheldon and Miriam, that is the most important thing I think that's ever happened in their life. They love Israel. Right? So, but I can now understand, because I always said, why wouldn't they do it? Why? Why are they doing it? Why wouldn't they just do it? They campaigned, we will this and that, Israel, Israel. Then you folks go out and vote for them, and then they don't do it, right? 4 years, 8 years, didn't matter. They won't do it. But you know what? They did it. We did a great job, and we feel great about it. And then last week, Israel's security, really so important. It's all about security. When you get right down, it's about security. It's always number one for me. I got to talk. We could talk healthcare. We could talk 100 different things. Without security, what does it matter? I stood with Prime Minister Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu. How is the race going, by the way? How is it? Who's going to win the race? Tell me. I don't know. Well, it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close. Two good people. But I stood with your Prime Minister at the White House to recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights is something I've been hearing about for a long time. The Golan Heights. So I was talking to Ambassador Friedman, and not about this. They've been trying to get that approved, as you know, for 52 years. They wanted recognition from the United States on the Golan Heights. They had 32 summits, meetings, big meetings over many, many decades about the Golan Heights. I'm talking to your ambassador. Jared was there. Jason Greenblatt was there. I said, fellas, do me a favor. Give me a little history, quick. I want to go fast. I got a lot of things I'm working on. China, North Korea. Give me a quickie. Norm, I said, give me a quick little, so I know it as well as Norm, but I don't want to spend quite as much time as he has spent studying it, right? Which has been his entire life, right? So they had 32 different summits. He starts going, well, we need that. It's the high point. We need it for protection. We need it for... I said, all right, good. How do you like the idea? They weren't even calling about this. How do you like the idea of me recognizing exactly what we're discussing? Because I agree. You need it. You need the height. You need the height. A great general said, always fight downhill. Never fight uphill. A lot of battles are lost for these generals want to fight uphill, right? You need the height. So I said, David, what do you think about me recognizing Israel and the Golan Heights? He said, would you actually do, and this is a great deal maker. It's one of the most successful lawyers gave it all up in order to be your ambassador. Gave it all up. What do you think of it, David? And he goes, and this is a very strong, ambitious guy, like a wonderful, beautiful baby. He said, do you really, you would do that, sir? I said, yeah, I think I'm doing it right now. Let's write something out. We make fast decisions. And we make good decisions. Look, I've made a lot of good decisions. Make good decisions. And We got something beautiful, talking about security, talking about the greatness of Israel. And I went, bing. It was done. Then I watched, well, look at all those cameras. Then I watched the fake news, and they said, we have breaking news. President Trump has just committed to the Golan Heights. And it was a big, big story for 2 days. Everyone's happy. No repercussions. No, and there won't be. And we're there to protect Israel, so there won't be. We did the right thing. We did the right thing. And I want to congratulate Jared and Jason Greenblatt and David Friedman and all of the people they work with. And a big thing for me, and some of you won't like this maybe, but I would love to see peace in the Middle East. I would love to see peace in the Middle East. And if those three can't do it, you'll never have it done. It's never, with me as president, with them doing the deal, you'll never have it done. So let's see if we can do it. Who knows? Under my administration, the United States will always support Israel's right to self-defense. At the United Nations, we no longer tolerate any form of anti-American, anti-Israel, and anti-Semitic bias. We don't do it. For example, the United Nations Human Rights Council has repeatedly denigrated America and Israel while, and you know this, you've heard this, while ignoring the world's worst human rights abusers. That's why I withdrew the United States from the UN Human Rights Council. And thank you to Nikki. Thank you to Nikki. Terrific job, Nikki Haley. With your help, we are making incredible strides on behalf of the American people, and we are just getting started. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And that guy that just said that, he used to hate me. Can you believe it? He used to hate me. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But while Republicans fight to protect the jobs and safety of all Americans, Democrats are advancing the most extreme partisan agenda by far in American history. You see what's happening. You see what's happening. People aren't fighting for Israel in Congress, large numbers of people. You saw what took place 3 weeks ago. It was shocking. That couldn't have happened. It could not have happened just a few years ago. Could not have happened. If implemented, the Democrats' radical agenda would destroy our economy, cripple our country, and very well could leave Israel out there all by yourselves. Can't do that. More than 100 Democrats in Congress are promoting the biggest government power grab in U.S. history, the $100 trillion Green New Deal proposed by a wonderful young bartender, 29 years old. 29. No, I like her. She's 29 years old. We take trains to Europe, Hawaii, and Australia. That's a problem. The farming business is in big trouble, right? The auto business, you get one car. Somehow Detroit, etc. You know, I'm bringing so many car companies in. I don't think they're going to be thrilled to hear that. We are. We're building. I tell you what, when you look at what's happening with the car companies, they're opening up in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and North Carolina and South Carolina. It's amazing what's happening. We want to keep it going. You know, they could destroy what we've built very quickly It doesn't. That's why having Lindsey and David and all of the people that I mentioned and so many more back in Washington, really, we're going to stop it. And we're going to win the election. We're going to win it. We're going to win it big. It will never be as easy as it looks. Over 120 congressional Democrats are also supporting a socialist takeover of our health care system that would take away private insurance. If you take a look at this, 180 million people will lose their private health insurance. And you're finally happy. You're happy. We've done a lot of work on that. You're happy. The radical Democrats are also pushing for a thing called, if you can believe this, open borders. They want open borders. They want people to pour into our country. Last month, more than 100,000 illegal migrants were apprehended at our border. Apprehended. Think of this. Hundreds of thousands of people. And we're on pace to apprehend more than 1 million illegal migrants this year. 1 million. They're coming up because of the economy. They're coming up because our laws are so bad from the Democrats. Catch and release. You catch them, and you release them. Oh, that's wonderful. If they put 1 foot on our territory, if they start climbing a fence and they're on the Mexico side, welcome to the United States. Think of it. It's the craziest thing. They have a visa lottery, Democrats. A visa lottery. A lottery. Countries, a lottery. You pick out a name. Do you think they're putting their finest? Do you think they're putting their great people there? No. And then people come in and you see what happens with the crime and murders. 4,000 murders last year. 4,000. How stupid can we be to put up with this? How stupid can we be? And the asylum program is a scam. Some of the roughest people you've ever seen. People that look like they should be fighting for the UFC. They read a little page given by lawyers that are all over the place. You know, lawyers. They tell them what to say. You look at this guy, you say, wow, that's a tough cookie. I am very fearful for my life. I am very worried that I will be accosted. If I'm sent back home, no, he'll do the accosting. Asylum. Oh, give him asylum. He's afraid. He's afraid. We don't love the fact that he's got tattoos on his face. That's not a good sign. We don't love the fact that he's carrying the flag of Honduras or Guatemala or El Salvador, only to say he's petrified to be in his country. To confront this border crisis, I declared a national emergency. And David Perdue and Lindsey Graham helped me. A lot of people helped us. When congressional Democrats tried to reverse my order and terminate vital border security operations, I very proudly issued my first veto. And they were not able to turn over the veto, so now we have. In fact, we have billions of dollars. We've started building walls actually a while ago from the first $1.6 billion and renovation of a lot of walls. We could do that a lot cheaper. We had walls that were potentially very good, but they were in very bad shape. They were old. We renovated them. We have got a tremendous amount we're going to put out a list, but we will have hundreds of miles before the end of next year. Hundreds of miles. And yesterday I traveled to the border in Calexico, California, and I saw a section of brand new 30-foot high steel wall. you want to be able to see through it. You got to see through it. You got to see who's on the other side. Beautiful wall. Looks great. Looks great. Walls build good neighbors, right? Now we have to take care of ourselves. And I have to say, I said I was going to close the border. It's gotten so bad. I said, we're closing the border. And as soon as I said that, and I really thank the president of Mexico, because they stepped up. And now they are apprehending people on their southern border, coming in from Honduras, El Salvador, and various other places. Guatemala, and I stopped paying almost $600 million to those three countries. Now I got a lot of heat. The Democrats say, how dare you do that? That money is used for all these good, but no, it's not. It's largely stolen. I sent $600 million, we do, $600 million to three countries, and they form caravans. Now, if the government wanted to, I have a feeling they'd be able to stop caravans from forming in those three countries. I have a feeling. They're pretty tough. They're pretty tough down there. But they didn't, so I stopped the payment. Do you mind? Are you okay with it? Because I've taken a lot of heat from the stupid people that say, oh, gee, we should keep. We have people that work with them that say we should be sending much more money. We should be building things there, helping them. What about building our own country for a change? Wouldn't that be nice? Unfortunately, Democrats have refused to close immigration loopholes. That's really what it's all about. And again, Mexico has apprehended 1,400 people yesterday, 1,000 people the day before. They've never done this, never to the extent. And I appreciate it. I appreciate it. But if they don't do it, I'm going to close the border, or I'm going to do tariffs on the cars made in Mexico. They took 30% of our car business. By the way, I wasn't here when that happened, okay? I used to complain about it as a civilian. I'd complain. I said, what the hell is going on? They're taking our business. They have 30% of our cars. They make 30% of our cars. They send them into our country. No tax, no nothing, essentially. And we lost a lot of jobs, but we're getting them all back now. Getting them all back now. But I said we're either going to tariff those cars coming in at 25%, which is a tremendous amount of money. It's all about the cars. The cars are a big deal. Or we're going to close the border. And I will say this, Mexico has been great. The last 4 or 5 days they've been great. First time. At the heart of, and I don't mind closing the border. I tell you, a lot of these fakers back there, they say, he will never close the border. It's too much. Well, close the border, we stop about $500 billion worth of drugs from pouring into our country, There are a lot of advantages to it, too. A lot of advantages to it, too. I'm okay with it. I don't want to do it, but I'm okay with it. I'll do it. I'll do whatever is necessary to stop an invasion of our country. That's what it is. At the heart of the crisis are the Ninth Circuit rulings in the Flores case and the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, driving a staggering surge of illegal families and minors into the hands of our incredible Border Patrol people. They've done an incredible job. What they do is incredible. I was with them yesterday. So Congress must end catch and release so that illegal border crossers can be quickly and safely returned to their home. Get out. Sorry, get out. Sorry, can't handle it. And I told my people yesterday, our country's full. We're full. Our system's full. Our country is full. Can't come in. Our country is full. What can you do? We can't handle anymore. Our country is full. Can't come in. I'm sorry. It's very simple. Never before has a major political party been more outside the American mainstream than the Democrats of today. They have become the party of high taxes, open borders, late-term abortion, crime, witch hunts, and delusions. And now the Democrats have even allowed the terrible scourge of anti-Semitism to take root in their party and in their country. They have allowed that. They have allowed that. House Democrats recently blocked legislation to confront the anti-Semitic movement to boycott and sanction Israel. Nobody could believe it, right? Nobody. You couldn't believe it. Republicans believe that we must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism. We do, all of us. Earlier this year, I appointed a new special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. We are grateful that he has joined us today, Elan Carr. Where's Elan? Thank you. Great job, Elan. If Elan's as good as I hear, he's going to do a great job. Thank you. Thank you very much. Congratulations. At my State of the Union address, I was honored to have as our guest a Pittsburgh SWAT officer, brave guy. I was with him in the hospital, who raced into gunfire during the horrific anti-Semitic attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue. He was shot 7 times, badly injured. He endured 12 surgeries, and he's going to have to endure quite a few more. We are proud to have him here with us right now. If he wasn't there, as bad as it was, as horrible as it was, it would have been much worse. He is a brave man. Timothy Matson. Please stand, Timothy. Timothy. I saw him right after this horrible event, this horrible happening, and he was laying in the hospital. He had bullet wounds all over. He's a massive guy. I looked at the chest. I mean, he's got like this, and it's muscle. Thank God you're massive, and thank God you had a lot of muscle, because very few people could have taken what you took, Timothy. And your friends, they had such respect for him. His fellow officers, they had such respect. Thank you. Glad to see you better. That's great. Glad to see you better. Amazing. What he went through. Today we also honor 2 more American heroes. Mordecai Lichtenstader and Simke Sin. I love that name. Both from Brooklyn. I know Brooklyn very well. My father, Fred Trump. I love my father. Brooklyn. Spent a lot of time in Brooklyn. You learn a lot in Brooklyn. You get through Brooklyn, you got to be smart. 2 years ago, Mordecai and Simke traveled to Jerusalem, where they prayed at the Western Wall. Soon after they left the holy site, they saw a terrorist stabbing an innocent Israeli police officer. Racing to the scene, Mordecai pulled the attacker off the soldier and was about to be stabbed himself. It was happening when the badly wounded officer summoned the little strength that he had left and shot and killed this very violent terrorist. Simke immediately took his prayer shawl and wrapped it around the officer's wounds to stop the bleeding, which was profuse. After the attack, the officer said of the 2 Jewish Americans, "They were sent by God to save my life. For me, my family, and the Druze people of Israel, I thank God from the bottom of my heart." That's the officer. Thank you. Mordecai Simke, where are you? Stand up. Great job. Thank you. Great job. Great job. Thank you very much. Recently, Mordecai and Simke became the first non-Israeli citizens to receive the country's Civil Exemplary Decoration. That's a big deal. To Mordecai and Simke, you are an inspiration to all of us, to everyone in this room, to everyone in our country. Thank you very much. The three American heroes we recognize today are a powerful reminder of the timeless values that bind us together as one nation and that forge our deep and lasting friendship with the people of Israel. We honor our history. We treasure our traditions. We cherish life. We love our families. We defend our sovereignty. We fight for our freedom. And we place our trust in the hands of Almighty God. These are values that unite us all as Republicans, as citizens, as patriots, and as proud Americans. Every day of my presidency, we fight on behalf of hardworking citizens who pay their taxes, follow our laws, raise their children, protect our communities, and make this the greatest nation ever to exist on the face of earth. This government is their government, and this land is home. These American patriots have always been loyal to our country, and we will forever be loyal, we swear, to them. The choice for our country's future has never been clearer than it is today. The Republican Party is the party for all Americans. It will be the party for great health care. You watch. We are the party of the American worker. We are the party of the American family. And we are the party of the American dream. Alongside our friends at the Republican Jewish Coalition, we will keep on working. We will keep on fighting, and we will be winning, winning, winning for the American people. With your help on November 3rd, 2020, can you believe it's right around the corner? Think of it, right around the corner. Thank you very much. We're going to win. By the way, one of the people, and then that was confirmed by somebody else today on the other side, Democrats, were saying that they would reinstate the Iran nuclear deal. Well, this is what you have. They want to reinstate the deal. It was a disaster for our country. We gave $150 billion, $1.8 billion in cash. What does that look like? Airplanes loaded up with cash. How stupid was that deal? They want to reinstate it. Republicans are going to win the White House. We're going to retake the House. We're going to keep the Senate. And we are once again going to be in a position, in my opinion, like never, ever before, stronger than we've ever been before. There is more spirit for the Republican Party right now than I've ever seen. They keep talking about the spirit of the Democrat Party. There's more spirit for Republicans. In my opinion, by far, we may express it somewhat differently, and that's okay. More spirit than I have ever seen. And I've now been doing this for a little while. Not too long. I'm 1 for 1. That's 1 for 1. I want to be 2 for 2 and then relax. And together with the love, the prayers, and devotion of everyone in this room, credible people, and the millions of patriots across our land, we will make America great again for all Americans, greater than ever before. Thank you, and God bless you all. God bless America.